Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I have Alison Armstrong joining me. We're going to be talking all about men, women, and relationships. I'm super excited to have her on the show. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Author Alison Armstrong's exploration of human behavior began in 1991 with her decision to study men, to find out how I was bringing out the worst within them and hopefully how to bring out the best. Her success in understanding men naturally led to studying women's behavior and making vital connections between the two. Armstrong distinguishes human instincts that compel both men and women to behave in ways that contradict and undermine our own purposes, goals, values, needs, and relationships. She offers partnership-based alternatives, giving millions of people access to more fulfilling lives, loving relationships, stronger families, and productive organizations. Armstrong is a sought-after speaker, thought leader amongst people with a desire to live empowered lives. Alison's philosophy and approach is frequently referenced and taught by other authors, speakers, business consultants, and therapists, and is best known for her book, The Queen's Code, online course, Understanding Men, and audio program, In Sync with the Opposite Sex. Alison, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
So glad to have you. I found out about you through a love summit, and one of the love coaches actually mentioned your work. And I knew I had to have you on the show because, being a lover of men and a mother of boys, I am all for uplifting men in society. So I'm so happy to have you on the show.
How many
It's a
boys?
great topic. So
How many
fun.
boys do you have?
I have 4 boys, and I helped raise
Oh my
a
God,
5th. Yeah, in a past marriage.
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're amazing. They really are amazing human beings. So proud of them all. It is. It's great. So, first question, how did you get into this work? What led you into your investigation, as you say, into men?
Well, it was this freaky, life-altering evening where a friend of mine confronted a speaker in a relationship seminar. He was talking about relationships and communication, and she said, are, why is it that men are wonderful in the beginning and they'll listen to you talk about your friends and your family and your pets like they care, and they'll give you romantic presents and take you to romantic places, and then after a few weeks or a few months they turn into sports watching, pizza eating, beer belching, couch sluts? Why is that?
Good question.
That's what she said to him in front of about 200 people. And I don't try to do a Texas accent, and I don't have red hair and pink lipstick, but she was really, really adamant about this. And that's when the speaker, his name was Herb, he called her a frog farmer.
Oh boy.
And he explained that some women turn frogs into princes, and you, my dear, turn princes into frogs.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
So she didn't buy that at all. When he turned around, she stuck her tongue out at him. I was having an epiphany about my life, and was stuck with a predicament. I could see the idea that I was bringing out the worst in men fit, right? It went thunk, but I didn't know how I did it because I was so normal. So normal. There wasn't anything unusual about me. And so I had no teachers, no mentors, nobody to look to. And so I decided to study men. I decided to watch them and listen to them and interview them and ask them questions about why they do what they did. And there were 3 men for whom I called myself their committed listener. It was the way I made money on the side because I ran a nonprofit. And they were the men I started with. And I just started paying closer attention to when they surprised me. And I tried to figure out why they did what they did. And when I checked it out with them, in the beginning, I was always wrong. And not just a little wrong, like grossly wrong. They were disgusted by what I thought their motivations were. And that was the first biggest revelation, because I was just assuming they were motivated the way I was, that they were motivated the way women are. Like this one man, I thought that he did what he did so that he wouldn't upset his mother. And he was like, ew.
Mm.
No self-respecting man would ever do anything for that reason. And, even to this day, 30 years later, I still am seeing how compelled women are to try to motivate a man to do something by letting him know how upset they would be if he didn't, or trying to get him to stop doing something by letting him know how upset she is by that behavior. And only a man who feels really dependent upon a woman, or a man for that matter, will be motivated by not upsetting.
Mm.
They consider that dishonorable. They think it's gross to be motivated by not upsetting somebody. They want to do the right thing,
Right.
no matter what they're afraid of. And so that's what happened. And I thought, because I knew men were shallow and self-centered and probably had no souls and certainly had no feelings, so I didn't have to worry about hurting them, I thought it would take 2 or 3 months to know everything that was worth knowing about them.
Wow.
And that was 30 years ago.
God, what an amazing journey.
Yeah.
Well,
And
from
I
that
like,
responsibility piece, and dance through all of your belief systems and what you were taught. And then the
yeah,
mirroring, there's a mirror where you just mirrored what women, how they would approach things and not even see the male. Wow. What a great.
yeah, it was one revelation after another. Finding out what men really are motivated by, and how words like duty and loyalty, team, honor, responsibility, accountability, shame, they have a relationship to these words that very few women have any idea how profound it is. And yeah, they rocked my world. And then I was lucky enough to have a woman in my life, the only woman I knew had a life I wanted.
Mm.
She'd been married for 13 years. She had 2 children. Her husband was still courting her. Right? Like unheard of, unthinkable. He was still courting her. And after about 6 months of studying men, I just ended an engagement. I'd gotten engaged in that period of time. And I just ended the engagement. And Ellen called me and wanted to have a conversation with me about the ways that I was emasculating men. And she pointed out all the ways that she'd either seen me do it or saw the aftermath. And my reaction to that was, oh yeah, that was a good one. Oh yeah. Oh, I remember that one. Oh yeah. I mean, my reaction was like, what's your point? We're supposed to do that. It's important to do that. You can't let men get too full of themselves. They'll be dangerous. And then she pulled out, the ace. My son was not quite 3 years old at the time. And she said, you're even doing it to Jeffrey.
Oh, wow.
And she was right. I was determined to turn him into a girl. I was going to carve the man right out of him. And anything that I associated with him being a boy had to stop, because it was inherently bad in my reality. And yeah. So in the Queen's Code, which is fiction, people sometimes ask me, am I any of the characters? And the answer is, I'm all of the characters. And it starts the first chapter with Kimberly having the experience I just recounted. Only she has a grandmother I didn't have a grandmother who knew anything about men. I had no, Ellen taught me what she knew, which was not a lot. She just shared her vision with me
Mhm.
that when women stopped emasculating men, that men would solve all the real problems because they're compulsive problem solvers.
Right.
So, um, yeah,
So let's
yeah.
dive
So
into the
from two different perspectives, two women changed my whole life.
amazing. I love that story. So let's dive into what you've learned over the years. What are those qualities? All of our listeners want to know, what are those qualities and how do we distinguish them?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you want
And
me to
encourage them. How do we
distill?
encourage
You
those?
want me to distill over 100 hours of video content and even more audio content,
Okay,
right?
maybe just a
30
snippet.
years worth. You want me to distill? Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Well, since we started down this path, let me give you something really important.
Please.
Um, so one of the things that human beings are providers. We're compelled to provide. And ideally, we are overflowing, right? We have an abundance and we're overflowing when we get to provide. So we're not sacrificing. But the compulsion to provide is so strong instinctually that both men and women will sacrifice themselves in order to provide what they believe, what they project, what they think other people need.
Mm,
And one of the things that really shapes human behavior, and it's dramatic in men, they're a lot less subtle in many ways than women. So you can see things more clearly. It's bigger, and that's what we would call how they're relating to what it is that they're providing. So the lowest level that a person could have is that they're unwilling to provide it, right? They're just, no, I will, under no circumstances will they do that. Up from that would be someone who's providing something out of duty. And this is one of the most important things to understand about anyone in your life is what do they consider a duty? Because that's their own integrity. And anything that they regard as a duty, they're only going to fulfill it to their standards. So they're going to do the minimum amount that they think they owe that person because they're a citizen, because they're a son, because they're a brother, because they're a husband, because they're a boyfriend, right? They're going to do their duty, the minimum amount they think they should do. And sometimes that duty is much more than someone else thinks it should be, right? So we'll try to talk them out of it, which has them just experience being unseen or disrespected, or why do I have to have an argument with someone outside myself about this, right? My boyfriend, for example, has a childhood friend that Dan feels a duty to provide for and to protect to a certain level. It's fascinating to watch because his friend thinks Dan owes him more than Dan considers his duty. Most of Dan's friends think Dan owes that man less than Dan considers his duty. This is classic, by the way. This happens across the board. A man with his parents, his siblings, right? And someone will think he owes more and someone will think he owes less. And he's just caught in the middle
mm-hmm.
with he's got to do what he's got to do, right? For his own honor. And I think it's probably one of the things that Dan appreciates about me is that I'm not one of the people that he has to deal with about that. Right? I just have what I need and I have my boundaries and he's providing what I need provided. And other than that, I do not mess with his relationship with his friend at all. Like, no, just protect him from his attacks and his nastiness. But no, that's your relationship. So duty is really important to be sensitive to, because it's actually a low state. And what I mean by that is when somebody's willing to be accountable for something, they actually will give more than duty. They'll look to see what else might be needed. And higher than that would be someone considering like that their request, like, please let me be the one, pick me to do that. And they're going to put more energy and ingenuity into what they're doing because they're a request to do it. Even if they're just requesting to do it so that they know it's done right. Right? And then the highest of all is privilege. And someone who would consider that accountability or that responsibility to be a privilege. And this, by the way, is where this relates to men being fathers. This relates to men being husbands. A father, a man who's merely fulfilling his duty, right? I got her pregnant, right? So he'll do his duty as a father to that child. Completely different than a man who's willing to be a dad. Completely different than a man that's like, please let me be the dad of your children. And entirely different, like my husband, for whom being a dad was the greatest privilege of his life. And same thing with being a husband. Most men, if they're allowed to increase their accountabilities at their own rate, right, to become a boyfriend when they're ready to be a boyfriend, to become a husband when they're ready to be a husband, they'll even say it. Would you do me the honor of being my wife? Right? They're privileged to get to be the man who gets to take care of her, that gets to be the person who receives her admiration and her affection and that beautiful energy that women can give, and that gets to take care of her. Right? And even men will recognize, and they used to say this, yeah, there was something I wanted to do for you, but then I realized, no, Greg had the right to do that, not me. Right? So they recognize that there are certain things that only your husband gets to provide for you, or you're her boyfriend, you're the one who gets to do that. And what's sad is, due to lack of clarity, lack of people setting each other up to win, and lack of appreciation, someone can go from privileged to, yeah, I still want to do it, to, yeah, I can see doing this for a couple more years, to, I'm fulfilling this at the bare minimum level, to, no, I'm out. I don't care what vow I took. I'm out. They actually can be driven down. The good news, it actually can go up with clarity, with appreciation, with admiration, with being set up to succeed at something. Someone can go from a duty to privileged to be that person. My son's father was like that. He was barely willing. He even said it was a good thing I got pregnant because he didn't think he'd ever be ready. But when we got divorced, he really took on the job. And being our son's father has been the greatest privilege of his life. It went the other direction, which is a good thing for our son.
Yes.
So this is one of the most important things. I never get to talk about it, so I went for it when you asked.
Thank you.
I mean, I could talk about single focus, and I could talk about ask men what they think instead of what they feel. And if you want to hear what they feel, then you gotta wait for the well. You have to listen for a really, really, really long time without rephrasing. I mean, there's so many things we teach in Understanding Men and in our Understanding Women course, but I wanted to give you something that'd be very hard to find anywhere.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So thanks. Let's unwrap it just a little bit more, because that plays into the procreate, protect, and provide.
Mm.
So let's dive into that a little
Yep. Yep, you heard about that, huh?
bit.
Well, I call it the hierarchy of instincts. And it showed up when I'd been studying men for a really long time. And then I was contrasting them always with women. And I got to the point in 2003 where I could teach men to understand women because I could translate a woman's reality into a man's well enough, and teach women to understand women so that we would stop dishonoring ourselves and we could get the kind of support we needed.
Mm.
And then that got me to the place, it's not beyond male and female, it's actually before male and female, right? So what are the human instincts that we all have, and then they may be expressed as male and female, as a what I would call a testosterone based or estrogen based organisms. And then further than that could be expressed depending on our mindset. If our mindset is committed or open, totally different person.
Mhm.
So when I started seeing human beings before the the Y chromosome takes over, I think it's the Y, right? That's when I started seeing procreate, then protect, then provide. And the then is very important. And it's important because we all love it when someone is in a state of providing, right? Like where I started, especially when they're overflowing,
Mhm.
when they have an abundance of patience, love, kindness, respect, right? All those things that they can overflow as. And unfortunately, because we have, in many cases, conflicting instincts, like a classic is women, when we're in an open state of mind, we feel safe when we feel connected. And men, when they're a committed state of mind, which is really natural for them, they feel safe when they're being productive.
Mhm.
So a woman will interrupt a man and make him less productive in order to create a connection to have her feel safe. And he'll get upset at being interrupted, which will make them less connected. And then she'll be more upset from being less connected, not knowing that she actually caused it by her instinct compelling her to do the thing that his instinct compels him to protect himself from.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens over and over and over again. Over and over. Men do this too, depends on the mode they're in, but the compulsion to provide details and the whole backstory and the context and the examples, the compulsion to do that, very strong instinct to be fully understood. Well, if the person you've asked to solve a problem for you, or it seems like you have a problem, they're going to want to get at it. And all those instincts occur like these barriers. Just let me solve the problem.
Mhm.
And I have this happen a lot because a woman will say, can you tell me, why don't men put the toilet seat down? So what I mean by that is, and then they'll want to give me the whole long history of all of that. But I knew the answer immediately why they don't put the toilet seat down, right? I didn't need any of that to answer the question. And so I have to cool my jets, right? And that's what men experience. They're cooling their jets. There's so many expressions that are literal, like killing time. What are you doing? I'm killing time. I investigated that once. Hilarious what it means, killing time. Quite literal. So we have these opposing instincts, right? So and in their expression, we both have an instinct that we're at our best when we experience being safe. But do you feel safe through connection or through productivity? Well, it depends. It depends on if you're in a committed state of mind and you've got results to produce, then it's productivity. If you're in an open state of mind, then being related to other people and experience the quality of that being related, that's what has us feel safe. So, because we're herd animals and pack animals, right? So it's just these things that I just find them immensely entertaining. And it can we talk about sex?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Oh, good. So take that to this area, right? So a classic, but it can be in reverse. A man will experience being connected through sex. It's literally a physical, then a spiritual, emotional connection. Most women need to feel connected before they're open to the physical expression of that. They need the mental and emotional connection to welcome the physical connection. So a man will say to his wife, hey, let's do it. And she'll say, well, I need to feel connected first. And he's like, great, let's do it. No, I said I need to feel connected first. So I should put it in. No! They have no idea that they're not talking about the same thing. And I mean, I think it's hilarious at this point, but there's so many non-connections that happen because of not understanding what they're really talking about. Because another human instinct is to not waste any energy stating the obvious, right? There's men say there's no point in stating the obvious, and it really means a waste of time and energy, which men are much more aware of that than women are. Women tend to act like we have an unlimited amount of time and energy. They can feel it. They actually are very sensitive to the passage of time and that energy is gone. And like, for example, how much energy it takes to care. They're aware of how much energy it takes to care. They can feel it in their bodies. That energy is lost when they've cared. And women, we just care. We care about so many things because of what estrogen does to our brain. And like, we'll ask a man, like asked my husband, do you want your sandwiches before we're married? Do you want your sandwich cut on the horizontal or on the diagonal? And he said, I don't care. How can you not care? Like, well, it's crazy to me to not care. It's a completely different mouth experience depending on how it's cut. And how it's cut depends on what kind of sandwich it is. Do you know what I mean? Seriously, it really matters. Well, I found out later he didn't care because if it were up to him, he wouldn't cut the sandwich at all. But he had hands like this big. He could just cutting was only relevant for these hands, and for this mouth. So when a man cares about something, it's huge to him. When he cares about a woman, it's a predicament. It's a uh-oh. So again, we have all these interesting and different ways of looking at things, and what it does is it has women being defensive, right? So instead of provide and like nurturing and caring and loving up and admiring, appreciating, no, we're protecting ourselves because we feel misunderstood and unseen and not respected and not taken care of, right? And men, instead of their generosity, their heart, their giving, which is just incredible, no, they're back in, I've got to protect what you're going to try to take from me. Like, you're going to put me in a verbal cage and you're going to drown me in details, and I'll lose all that time and energy, and I still won't know what your point was. Just as an example.
That's great. And I think it's a fantastic example, the sex example. I'm an advanced energy work and I work with chakras and energy work. And the first chakra is safety. safety and survival. And I was listening to a teacher speak one time, and he was commenting on men need just the safety to have sex, right? And women need the upper chakras, which is we have to know what's going on. Is it going to fit into our life? Do we need to talk about it for a little while, here in the fifth chakra? And then how does our heart feel? And does it go with our family of origin, which is our third chakra, right? And then getting to that safety. So I think that's really fascinating. So I want to kind of unwrap that women and safety a little bit more, because I know you discussed that well in reference to instinct versus choices. And also, that animal side of us, versus that instinctual side of us. So like diving into that safety a little bit more.
Sure. What do you want to know?
Well, women and safety as opposed to men, and say, the differences between, the two sexes.
Well, this is where mindset matters, and also physicality. So our Understanding Women online course starts with a demonstration in a co-ed audience of physical strength, because men they generally don't know how much they take their physical strength for granted.
Mm.
And they don't know how much stronger they are than women. Even a woman who's physically bigger than a man, he's probably stronger than she is. Wow. Because of the effects of testosterone on the bones and the muscles. And so men don't know that a part of a woman's brain is dedicated to scanning for threats in her environment, in her physical environment, all the time. And for example, something out of place. Well, a woman walks into her living room and there's something out of place. That's going to register as if she'd walked into a meadow and a tree had been moved. Well, who moved the tree, and are they still here, and are they going to hurt me? Right? Generally, only a bear can move a tree. Bears are dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. But it has us be sensitive in this unconscious kind of way to things that are out of place. And so it'll like take a chunk out of our attention and attentiveness if there are a lot of things out of place. And there'll be a fear element in it. So if a woman has a chance to, we call it straightening up, right? If a woman has a chance to pick up and straighten up, she'll feel calmer. She'll feel more safe. If the people in her life keep things picked up and straightened up, she'll feel safer more sustainably, right? I'm a compulsive furniture mover, right? I like to have places to be, right? And I create seating arrangements and stuff with the table on the side that the person most wants their side table on and stuff like that. Well, I might have a perfect arrangement for people interacting, but if every time I walk through my living room, where that chair is prevents the line of sight that would allow me to see a predator approaching, I have to move the chair because it keeps causing me to feel unsafe because I can't see what's behind it, right? So I have to tilt it just enough, right, to the angle just enough for that line of sight. And women do things like this all the time, and we don't even know we're doing it. We're just making ourselves feel safe. And on the side of productivity, right? If what is going to have us be safe is that we're productive, this is where we have this enormous concern for efficiency. Honey, let me show you how to chop the onions. I'm chopping them just fine, thank you. But honey, you're using the wrong knife. You could cut your finger. It's inefficient. You're wasting energy, and you could end up with a sore elbow. And then you'd be disabled. And how are you going to save me from the tiger? Please let me give you the right knife and show you how to cut the damn onions. Right? And we think efficiency is like a higher value. No, efficiency is a survival instinct. If you do things inefficiently, the energy is lost, and I might need it. And I might die because you don't have it because you were inefficient. Right? Um, so funny. We were talking about how men depend on women to find things because we mentally note everything that's out of place.
Mhm.
And they just say, honey, where's my, they just so depend on it. Honey, where's my keys? Honey, where's my wrench? Where's my whatever? And this one man said, we wouldn't have to depend on you for that if you just put it back where you found it. Oh, there's that.
Cute.
Right? Um, there's 1,000 things, truly. And one of the things that a man asked me recently, he said, so what do you do? I said, well, I teach women how not to be mean to men, and I teach men how to not make women want to be mean to them. and,
Nice.
and this has to do with safety, right? If a man raises his voice instinctually to a woman, what comes next is you raise your hand. You raise your voice, you raise your hand. It's a threat. And depending on if our reaction to a threat is fight, flight, or freeze, fight, we can be mean, right? Flight, we're just gone. We just disappear. Where did she go? Right? We'll run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze, we can look like we're really shut down or judging or condemning someone, and they'll interpret all kinds of things from it. And they have no idea what they did, because amongst men, yelling is just, it's either blowing off steam or it's just a waste of energy, and he's silly to waste energy that way. So there's so many times when we need to overcome the instinct to not ask and to not tell, and to ask, like, you have a funny look on your face. Are you mad at me? I try to tell women it might just be gas. Watch that you're taking it personally, because we do. We're like, what did I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And then we have that safety reaction. If I did something wrong, if I was displeasing, if somebody or something attacked me right now, he might not protect me. We don't know that his own ethics and honor will cause him to protect us. We think they only protect us when they like us. So we have to stay likable, which then has women think, oh, I'm such a pleaser. No, you're not such a pleaser. It's not personal. You're such a human. Both men and women will attempt to please the people they feel dependent upon. There's nothing wrong with your self-esteem. It's instinctual.
Mm. Oh, and I loved what you said about how the man sees it. Can you unwrap that a little bit more? That they're going to, rescue you anyway.
Yeah, so in procreate, then protect, then provide. The tough part is that procreate trumps protect. So when you said about men actually needing safety for sex, that's not my experience.
Ah, tell me more.
Well, if you look around the planet, every species risks their life to have sex. Every species,
Mm-hmm.
both male and female. Dying in childbirth is common, right? For humans, for horses, it's dangerous business, right? For the sea turtle to crawl out of the ocean to lay her eggs.
Yeah.
So females risk their lives to have sex. Males battle for the right to have sex. And we wouldn't have to teach safe sex if procreate didn't trump protect. And the sex drive can show up in the middle of anything. And in the middle of battle, it can overcome, right? And like, it seems insane. Well, no, it's just instinct. It's procreate and protect. It also shows up in other ways. Like, procreate is also building. Procreate is a business or a legacy. And people will risk their homes in order to start a business, right? They'll risk their providing for their children's education in order to protect the business that they created, right? There's all kinds of behavior that if you look at it in terms of procreate, then protect, and provide, you can see, for example, classic conflicts between an entrepreneur and his or her spouse. Greg was always protecting the retirement fund.
Mm-hmm.
I was always risking everything to fulfill the mission that my company was created for. That to me made the most sense. It's my whole purpose in life, not to save money. It's to get this message out, right? We need to save people, not money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there would be this tension between us. Of I always wanted every dollar to go to grow the ability to spread the message, where he wanted every dollar to go in the bank. And to me, it was obvious, right? But he wasn't in the procreate energy. And procreate energy it's exciting, but it can also, to protect people and protect, it seems like chaos. Entrepreneurs can be really scary people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the ways, it's a lens. It's a really useful lens to look at one's own life. Where in my life am I in creation? And what am I risking to do that? What am I not protecting in order to be there? What am I not providing in order to be there? Because it will trump. Where am I in protect mode? That's what I'm paying attention to. And one of the things I had to do at one point was go, okay, where does having, like saving, like my husband taught me to, where does it cross over into hoarding? Right? And I could see the difference that having is in a mental and spiritual state of abundance, where hoarding was in a mental state of scarcity,
Mm-hmm.
was at a fear, right? And so where did I trip over into fear from abundance? And actually paying attention to, oh, at this point I'm hoarding. This is about fear. So I actually purposely spent money. Like I went and spent it, replaced all the windows in my house, which needed to be done for years, right? Because I could see that not doing it was all about fear. And instead of having an experience of well-being where my windows don't have duct tape on them, you know, duct tape, shipping tape, painter's tape, right? We had all of that. So, and then providing is interesting because there's enormous cost when we sacrifice to provide. We have a whole audio on this. It's called Loving More by Sacrificing Less, because we'll project onto another person what they need. We'll sacrifice ourselves to provide it for them. And then we'll want them to appreciate it enough to return all that energy to us. And it's impossible. And so it's a victory of human spirit to actually tell someone, there's something I'd like to provide for you, and I want to check it out with you first to see what, do you want me to do this? I'm going to give it to you. So would you like a vote? I call that respect.
Yeah.
So I've been fascinated for a long time with what I would call overflowing. That if you think of a swimming pool, right? When a swimming pool is overflowing, let's assume it doesn't have any chlorine in it, right? Everything gets watered,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just overflowing. And too often we give what we can't afford to give. And then we're a half empty swimming pool interacting with another half empty swimming pool, trying to get them to fill us up. And we call it a relationship. Doesn't go well.
Mm-mm. I liked what you said in another interview that there isn't a perfect relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There's just now in the relationship, and now in the relationship, and now in the relationship. I loved that.
Yeah, I mean, more accurately, if you look closely, there is no such thing as a relationship. They actually don't exist. And we hallucinate them. We think that something exists that can embody a set of qualities and sustain those qualities outside of us. That like the love of our relationship, we have so much love in our relationship, it will get us through this storm. No, there's no relationship that's holding that love. There's just, are you being loving right now? Are you giving love? Are you receiving love? Are you expressing love? If you are, then right now you'll have the illusion, you'll have the experience that you're in a loving relationship, but that doesn't mean it actually exists, because they don't. You cannot find them, which honestly, Liz, is one of the most exciting things I ever discovered, because it's why they're so easy to change. Because not only do they not hold love, they don't hold resentment either.
Ah.
Yeah, they don't hold history, good or bad. They don't hold anything. So that's why our graduates can change their relationships so quickly. One interaction can change everything. But then so can the next one and the next one and the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So how we're being, this is what the program Lux is about, that how we're being, how we're listening, and how we're speaking is what matters right now. And right now is what's going to give our sense or our feel of being related. And that's going to be it.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, it makes it really fun, but it also makes it high stakes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be that awake. We don't want to be that present.
Wow.
We want to think we can coast. We've been great to each other for weeks or months, and now we can be cranky pants and there won't be any cost because we've got a lot in the bank.
No, that's just not the case.
It's not.
Gosh. So how do we better understand each other through that love and compassion to be able to and meet each other and understand each other and get in sync with each other to create this together?
Well, I would say be curious. Right? Question all your assumptions. Question every time you're projecting a motivation onto them. Whether it's one you think they've had from the past or it's one of yours, and ask. Overcome I call the instinct, don't ask and don't tell. And ask. So you had a funny look on your face just now. What was that? Right? Or when you said that, what were you thinking? What was that about? Or when you said that, that made me think that you think this. Could I verify something with you? This is what I thought you meant by that. Is that what you meant by that? Oh my gosh, the number of times I'm wrong is so much higher than right. Oh no, that's not what I meant at all. I meant this. Oh. And also perspective. Like, I call it horizon. So oftentimes what happens between two people is because of, like, if you think of the curvature of the earth, right? So you're on a road trip, right? And if you've ever been on a road trip, you can only see so far. But as you go further, then you can see further, right? But if somebody has better vision than the other, then they can already see further. And the person who can see the farthest will often want to make plans further out, or they see trouble further out. So let's cut this short now. But the other person doesn't see it coming at all. This happens a lot in women who especially women who want to marry a man and they think they'll live happily ever after, but he's looking further out and he sees these two lives aren't going to the same place. They'll go, we're not even going in the same direction. Right? They can see there's no way we're going to keep these train tracks together because you're going over there and I'm not. But often what happens is whoever can see the furthest wants to drag the other person into planning for that future, right? Or the reverse. Can I give you a personal example?
Sure.
So I call it being a human girl. So I had all my knickers in a twist because Dan and I weren't going to see each other for 4 weeks. And that seemed like an impossibly long time to be away from this person that I love and admire and like and enjoy immensely. And I'm starting to think that I'm the only one who's trying to plan for us to be together, right? That I'm the one that needs to be together more. I am the one that's always planning to be together. I'm trying to figure out how to see each other before 4 weeks. Like, how can we, interrupt these 4 weeks and see each other? And I've got myself completely knickers in a twist and, and all those like things like women who love too much and somebody always loves more than somebody else and someone's more needy. And so and I'm all, and then I find myself, I'm not going to say anything. He could fix it, but I'm not going to say anything. And I realized, oh, now I'm going to test him. I'm going to test him to see, will he fix it so we can see each other before then? Right? And I caught myself thinking that. And so he's so funny. I say, I have a confession. And he says, you're absolved. Thank you. Now, can I tell you what I did? Yes, please. I say, well, I had a human girl moment. I love you, you're a human girl. And I'm a human girl. You were talking about your 5D, right?
Mm-hmm.
God bless him.
The conscious man.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And so I told him that it's, and I confessed it, it seems to me like I'm the one who's always trying to find time for us to be together. I'm mortified, embarrassed, terrified, like everything, like all this stuff going on. And he says, finding time to be with you is at the top of my mind.
Oh.
Like, what? And he starts to tell me about the plans he was making to get his captain's license for sailing, offshore sailing, and trying to time it for my business trip to Puerto Rico so that he could be there while I was there, maybe before I had to work there, that we could take it together, right? That I could take the sailing, that I could learn it too. And then he's working out how to, he's planning Christmas, right? I'm worried about these next 4 weeks, and he's planning September. He's planning my birthday in October. He's planning where we'll be together for Christmas. Talk about horizon, right? To him, these 4 weeks they're just a blip, right? He's working on the whole future. What are we going to do in 2022? Is it going to open up and we're going to get to travel? Where do we want to go first, right? I mean, it's just, thank goodness I said something, right? Instead of just decided, this is never going to work, I want out, right? I don't like this feeling of dependency. Let's just cut it off.
Wow. Yes, ask.
Ask, do tell, and do ask. Question your own rationale. Question your projection of motives. Get curious. Curious comes from the Greek word that means to care. Care enough to find out what's real for them.
Right. And don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh.
Well, you're going to assume. Human beings do. Question your assumptions. Look for your assumptions. What am I assuming now? right? What am I assuming now? Or like what I like to say is assume that you're hallucinating. Instead of trying to prove you're not hallucinating, the question should be, what am I hallucinating now?
Yeah, right. Yeah, question all the storylines that are going in your mind.
Our minds are built to hallucinate.
Yes.
They're built that way. So question it, just like also instead of addiction being wrong, what am I addicted to now? What am I addicted to now? And how harmful is that particular addiction?
Mm-hmm.
Near as I can tell, to be human is to be, it's more than susceptible to addiction. We're a receptor site for addiction.
Right.
So we got to keep examining, right? What am I addicted to now? What do I have to take my will back from, right?
Interesting.
Most of my work for the last 5 years has been about embracing being human. What are we really contending with by having morphed or incarnated as human beings? What do we need to be awake to that's we're compelled by and we don't even know?
Right. Beautiful. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with today as we wrap up?
Well, just that there's enormous freedom in the point of view that what if almost nothing is personal, right? What if there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with them? What if we do most of what we do because we're human, and then because we're male or female and soaked in estrogen or testosterone, and then because we either have a committed state of mind or an open state of mind, and after all of that, your childhood might get involved.
Right.
But yeah, your birth order might get involved. And we were talking like the last 2% of causality might be somewhat personal. The rest is we're just human,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we can have a sense of humor about it, if we can be curious about it, if we can notice the tension that human bodies produce when instinct has been activated, then we have a chance.
Awesome. That's great, Alison. Thank you. Oh, I cannot even believe that an hour has flown by already. It's just blowing
It's
my mind
gone.
right now. You're just a wellspring of information, and I'd love to have you back for sure.
Thank you.
But in the meantime, how can people reach you and find all of your goodies online?
Oh my gosh, all of my goodies will go to AlisonArmstrong.com. That's where the latest goodies are. Everything on Audible and iTunes is pre 2013. We haven't published anything there since 2012. So, so the latest stuff, would be on our website. And as you know, I'm giving it away all the time. So, hundreds of hours on YouTube, and just get the latest stuff. Go by the latest stuff, and then there's the classics. I mean, the whole point of this was the Queen's Code, and I'm really proud of it. I'm producing a second edition this year.
Oh,
But
fantastic.
yeah, but it was the point. It was the point, and it actually works. I set out to write a book that would transform the way women relate to men, and it does that. And it also transforms the way men relate to themselves. So that's an easy recommendation.
Oh, I can't
Read
wait
it.
to see it. Yes. Oh gosh, and go online, hundreds of hours of content for free. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Alison Armstrong, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a privilege and an honor to have you on the show, and I look forward to working with you again in the future.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well,
And look up her information, everyone, online at AlisonArmstrong.com and also understandingmen.com. And then she has her YouTube channel as well. So check her out on social media as well. Alison, thank you. And find me at Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Raise the Vibe with Liz, and my website at Liz's Healing Touch. Thanks for joining me every day. Today and with me with Alison, and remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.